Good morning. My name is Reverend Kylie Renner, and on behalf of the entire One Spiritual Center community, hi. I want to welcome you here today. Happy Father's Day. What a joy to be together this morning in the love that is this community. Just pouring it all over all of us this morning. So I have to tell you that it's always amusing to me on Sundays especially that all the rest of the things that have to happen in my daily life still have to happen while all of this happens. And so all of the Airbnb cleaning and laundry and hot tub changing and all that has to happen during this time period where we're also setting this up. And then to add to that right now is the fact that I'm back at school. And so that's a daily thing that has to happen as well, because I have assignments due. And of course, I decided to make life more complicated for myself and started this really complicated 3D model that I worked on for 2 days and realized yesterday I'd screwed it up so badly that I had to start over. And so this morning I'm 3D modeling and Sid's laughing at me in the middle of changing laundry. And I'm sharing this only because in the middle of that I also lost half my talk that I had prepared for you. And I'm just feeling like somehow there's a lesson in all of this about I don't know what. But what I think it's actually about is that I had a revelation this week that I want to share with you, and probably all that other stuff was nonsense. So I'm just going to breathe into that this morning, that what's here and what's present is what is important, and we'll pick up the pieces of everything else later. And we can just be here. So I'm going to invite you to join me as we anchor in prayer. Breathing into this day with all of the things going on. With everything we're bringing to this moment. And I just recognize the power and the presence of love and peace and wisdom here now, as we make ourselves available to whatever it is that we need to give and receive in this space today. And I just recognize the love that is guiding us, guides us exactly where we need to be, into whatever we need to feel, and also surrounds all of those parts that are feeling disconnected, with a grace and a peace and a love that is bigger than our understanding. And I just recognize that this moment is whole in and of itself. And I breathe into it, and I simply let it be. And so it is.
Get ready, my soul, and I'm diving in. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in to the deepest kind of love, to the sweetest kind of love. Get ready, get seeing life so clearly now. Get ready, my soul. I'm dabbing in. Get ready, my soul. I'm dabbing in to the deepest kind of love, to the sweetest kind of love. Get ready, my soul.
So one of the things I lost this morning was the poem I had intended to share with you, and I couldn't remember the name nor the author, so I couldn't go find it, so I had to go looking again. And so I am not certain who this poem is for, but obviously for someone here. And it's a poem I had never read of hers before by Mary Oliver entitled Hurricane. It didn't behave like anything you had ever imagined. The wind tore at the trees. The rain fell for days, slant and hard. The back of the hand to everything. I watched the trees bow and their leaves fall and crawl back into the earth as though that was that. This was one hurricane I lived through. The other one was a different sort and lasted longer. Then I felt my own leaves giving up and falling. The back of the hand to everything. But listen now to what happened to the actual trees. Toward the end of that summer, they pushed new leaves from their stubbed limbs. It was the wrong season, yes, but they couldn't stop. They looked like telephone poles and didn't care. And after the leaves came blossoms. For some things, there are no wrong seasons, which is what I dream of for me. And so we just take that energy of no wrong season and that dream of whatever needs to be brought back. And we're just going to allow the meditation to move us today.
That was a tune by John Bartlett. Reformation or Reformation? Reformation. Here's a Dave Grusin tune. It's 2 pages. It does repeat to the sign when you and it's in the key of C, I guess. Yeah. Starts with the bass.
All right, then.
Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4.
That was lovely. And in case you didn't catch the joke from before, right before service, John asked, what order are we doing all these songs in? And so I told Sid that I always thought, it was one of those things that when the band leader would announce what the song they were singing was or playing, it was some sort of like helping the audience know, if they wanted to in the future check out at this song again. And now that I've been around musicians enough, I know that that is not the case. It's in fact for the other band members to know exactly what the heck is going on. And so Sid's like, yeah, well, it's really bad when they say it, and it's in the key of, because then they're really worried that no one knows what's going on. So thank you guys, and it's so fun to watch you play things you've never played before together, and just every Sunday morning you astonish me, so thank you. So I've had quite a week, and I'm not exactly sure why. I think part of it has to do with practicing what comes up for me every week. So last week I shared about this idea of making sure we're paying attention to the right thing. And so I had lots of opportunities to make sure I was paying attention to the right thing. But what I was starting to feel like is there was all of these things that we had shifted in our world to start to make things better and easier and simpler and, just in general, just go better. And in doing so, all sorts of things broke. And it was really interesting because I'm not used to that, right? Like, I think that when things are getting better, that just makes it better. Right? Like we make a change and that change then has only effects that feel good, right? Because we're making these positive changes. And instead, that is not what showed up this week. And none of it was drastic or dramatic. And in fact, there were very much, problems I'd like to be able to have. But they were also so consistent that it made me start to think about all of the places in my life where I have resisted that better thing because that better thing has consequences. And I don't know that I've ever heard anyone talk about it in this way, and that's why I want to share with you today, because I really believe that one of the things that hampers our spiritual evolution and our spiritual growth is our unwillingness to realize that change has consequences. Or we realize it and we resist that. And so there's so many people, who will resist change at every corner, right? In order to create some illusion of control or safety, which we know is just an illusion. But there was this really deep way in which I realized that in order for the change that needed to happen, there had to be other things that rearranged themselves. The underpinnings of that change could not happen, or the new change couldn't happen without the underpinnings of it changing as well. It all had to change. So it feels like a lot of us, we feel like we have this urge, especially as we see that there are things in our lives that could work better, or beliefs that need to change, or whatever that is. Like we start to feel this urge, and we're actually often fairly clear about what that change is on some level. But we get to that point where we realize that all the other things that are going to have to change in order to support that. And we clam up, we go back into the hole, and we are unwilling to deal with it. And so I had this experience this week in which, and I'll just share, and it doesn't really matter, right? So one of the things that Zephyr and I are deeply committed to is getting better at doing this relationship thing. Even after 17 and a half years, we have communication problems. And we had one this week, and it was painful, and it was hard, and it had consequences. But on the other side of it, on the other side of all of the things that had to rearrange, we are better. And I felt awful for a day, like I wanted to puke for an entire day. I mean, it was not fun. And I can see that in other parts of my life, I would have been unwilling to have that kind of change happen. And we would have continued to have the same miscommunication over and over in different ways, different characters, different things happen. And so why I'm sharing this with you, because the details don't matter, is that there has to be, I believe, a willingness in us to let ourselves be that uncomfortable. And like Mary Oliver talked about earlier, like that hurricane, right? Like sometimes it lasts a couple days, and for her, she's talking about the one that lasted longer. And so we even have to let that happen, right? And what I mean by let it happen is that we actually then can learn from it, grow from it, change from it, get better from it, instead of it just being a hurricane, right? Instead of it just being a fight or miscommunication or whatever you want to call it. If you're unwilling to let it be the fullness of what it is, then you can't actually get better. And I think that this is the big lesson for me in all of this, is that better means a lot of things, but it also means a lot of things have to go. That we have to be willing to let that happen, because otherwise we end up being hoarders. And we can be spiritual hoarders, right? And we try and put one better thing on top of the next one without getting rid of the other one. And we end up being really confused, right, inside, because there's just too much. And Spirit wants us to actually elevate the conversation and actually change and actually get better, instead of just putting some facade on top of something and saying, oh, that looks right. So this is one of the fun things about new metaphors coming out of school for me, is that one of the things that I'm doing is getting better at using the programs I just started to learn, right? I'm getting better. And I'm getting better by making really big mistakes and not knowing how to go backwards and breaking my model and starting over. But what's great about it is by making those mistakes, I realized what was going on beneath the surface, what I wasn't understanding, what tool I wasn't using correctly. And this all applies to our spiritual lives, right? Is when we allow ourselves to be present to what needs to change, like really open to that, what it would mean to be better, then we start to realize that there are ways to do things differently than the way we've done them before. And sometimes that means starting over. Even though we've spent years or weeks or days, whatever, creating that reality or those underpinnings, we have to be willing to allow for all of it to be shifted. And I've said that for years, but I don't think on some level I really understood what seems like the easiest thing in the world to understand, right? Change has consequences. And that the whole thing is connected, that you can't change this spot over here without changing the entire thing. And everything is connected and evaluated. And I think that this is important, not just on a spiritual level and an internal level, but on the level of like all of the big problems that are obviously facing our country and the world right now. Like, how are we willing to become that place in which we allow all of the things to rearrange themselves beneath the surface so that we can be better? So that we can really change, so that the systems become something that then supports the reality we know is possible, instead of continuing to just put another layer on top of the surface, thinking that fixes everything that came before. And so I just recognize that there's so much about this that's uncomfortable, but part of it is also just feeling like we don't know what comes next. So I love this story that was told about a man who was visiting a new town That was loud. A new town in England with his wife, and it was completely unfamiliar to them. And they had wandered around exploring, and they realized they had completely lost their way. And so they stopped this little boy who lived in the town and asked for directions back to the train station. And the little boy said, well, you turn to the right there by the grocery shop, and then take the second street to the left, and that will bring you to a place where 4 streets meet. And then, sir, you better inquire again. And I love that, the energy of that story, right? That energy that says, all right, we can get you, to that place of better, wherever, a little bit closer. And there you have to inquire again about what better means, what change needs to happen, what needs to be let go of, what needs to be embraced. But we don't necessarily know from that place of where we feel lost where that's going to be. And so we have to be willing to take the direction that we have, and from there, at that point, ask directions again. And I think as much as we want to, in our culture, claim this is a male thing about not asking directions, I really promise you, I believe that it is a human thing. And especially when we start to feel lost inside, like one of the last things we do from Spirit is ask for directions. Like, ask which way's up. Because we get so confused, it's like we're underwater being tossed by a wave, and we forget which side is up. And there's something inside of us that knows which side is up, knows how to bring us to the surface, just like if we, in the middle of that struggle, being tossed by a wave, we let our body and our buoyancy just take us to the top, right? There's something inside of us that knows how to do that and knows how to bring that direction. But we have to be willing to follow along far enough to get to that next place where we get to ask further directions. We can't just stop at the have to let go, just put something else on the surface, not willing to let go of the rest of it. So here we are, just carrying it all around in some mess that isn't supporting our growth or our fulfillment. And I know that this process is hard. I know that it hurts. I know none of us really want to experience it. But I also know that by letting go of our resistance to it, there's actual room for a depth of honoring what's actually happening that can take some of the suffering out of it. So I shared with you, right, like this communication problem that had been ongoing, that we discovered another layer to, discovered what was really going on. And I have to tell you that it was so freaking worth it, right? Like, to understand better the dynamics of communication and relationship and what was going on. It was so worth the willingness to let everything else that had to change and all of the consequences of that in order for that to be on the other side of that. And there's still going to be consequences, and that's okay, right? We don't know what the edges of that look like, and I just recognize that's holy, right? That even though it hurts, it's holy. To be willing to have that kind of conversation, not only with other people, but with that energy inside of ourselves and all of the things we carry with us. And just being willing to say, I'm willing to let everything that needs to rearrange itself in me in order for that higher vision to be able to come through. And just being willing to be in that space, recognizing that it's hard, but it's holy, and we're supported in it, and we can do it, and that it's not bigger than God, and all of those things can open us into a space of what we're really here to do, which was never just to hoard better things on top of each other. thinking that that's what change was about, without really being willing to let the foundations be shaken and shifted and changed. And so I'm just so grateful, kind of, for all the things that fell apart this week, right? Like all of the ways that in order to make things better, things fell apart in strange ways. And at one point, I looked at Zephyr and I said, Spirit's just fucking with us now. It was one of those, like, something changed and then so we dealt with it, and then something else changed that made the other thing that we had just changed not have to be changed. And it was like, what the hell? Right? What is going on? But all of it for me was back to that energy that said, am I willing to let there be consequences to this change? And am I willing to let these consequences actually make things better? So I'm going to ask the band to come on up, because I lost the other half of my talk. I don't remember what I was going to say. So hopefully that, yeah. Yeah, they'll have to play slow. Very, very slowly. But we're going to ask the band to come on up, because we're going to anchor into prayer. And as we do that, I'm going to invite you to maybe think about something in your life that you know could be better. Maybe it's something external. Maybe it's something internal. Maybe that you're carrying around something that you know you don't want to be holding that energy around it, or whatever that is. And we're going to see if opening to Spirit and asking for directions provides some insight. But also seeing if allowing ourselves to realize that in order for that to shift, that other things have to shift. And being willing to create the space for that may then something entirely new. So I'm going to invite you into this space with me. Please sing into prayer.
Our prayer of love lifts us high. It heals us, sustains us, and sets us free. Our prayer of love lifts us high. It heals us, sustains us, sets us free. Our prayer of love lifts us high. It heals us, sustains us, sets us free. Our prayer of love lifts us high. It heals us, sustains us, sets us free.
And so our prayer of love today is a prayer of allowing for change and transformation to happen. Allowing ourselves to not only be willing to change, but then being willing to allow for everything else to adjust itself as well. And I just recognize that we get to be changed as we allow ourselves to move into a space of recognizing that there are places in which we wish to experience more peace and love and freedom, and then help create that all around us. And so we allow ourselves to deeply and clearly see what it is that needs to be shifted in order for that greater good to come into being. And I just know that Spirit is available to give us direction, to point us in the right way. And so we allow ourselves to be open to that wisdom. Allowing ourselves to be moved and changed by Spirit in order for that higher vision to come into being. And I just know that truly the love that we are is ready and available right here and now to experience more of anything we could have ever imagined. And so I just open to that. I remove the barriers within me, keeping it from showing up. And I just know that Spirit continues to guide. And I let go into that peace, that freedom, and that love. And I let it be. And so it is.
Our prayer of love lifts us high. It heals us, sustains us, sets us free. Our prayer of love lifts us high. It heals us, sustains us, sets us free. Our prayer of love lifts us high. It heals us, sustains us, and sets us. Here's a tune by Miles Davis. It's called Tune Up. I'm sure there was a reason for that title. How many pages? One, two,
So thank you for being here today. Happy Father's Day again. What a joy to be celebrating that day with all of you today. There are baskets in the trees if you'd like to make a contribution in person here, or there's a spot on our website, onespiritualcenter.org, where you can make a contribution as well. Also want to remind you that we will be at Roadrunner Food Bank next Saturday already. Finally, again, we'll be back there 10 to noon, and we're excited to be back volunteering together again on the other side of feeling like most of us are vaccinated and can hang out again in space together without being dangerous. So let's see. We have also, I announced last week that we're going to have a little summer vacation break. Woohoo! So excited. So we will not have service on the first 2 Sundays of August. So just so everyone knows, I mean, you could show up, but I won't be here. But yeah, the people who are house sitting for us will be told to expect that people might show up, but we won't be here because we will be in Spain. I'm so excited. So very excited. I've not been to Europe, and I'm very excited to get a chance to go. So let's see. And I believe, yes, we're spending a weekend in Sevilla. So, ooh, yep. Yes. So I am just so happy to see all of you. What a joy. Oh, and I'm certain someone's going to ask later. And Zephyr and I are totally good, better than ever. Yeah, someone's going to be like, are you guys okay? Yeah, no, we're totally good. Just had to share. So let us sing. To sing to one another.